All right. So before we start doing hardcore viewer survivor for the day, I wanted to watch at least the rest of this video. I've watched like the first 2 minutes of Coconut's video on MMR, and it was interesting because he was talking like about like developers that actually use that stuff, and I was like, you know what, I should probably finish this on stream, so we'll watch the rest of this there. So spoilers, I did watch the first 2 minutes, so I can't XD live reaction to it. I'm also streaming on YouTube. I am streaming on YouTube. Anyway, I have some rice here. Let's watch it, and I'll pause it every 3 seconds and be obnoxious. And then after this, we'll get started on hardcore. All right.
Failure of modern skill-based matchmaking is that it's designed to maximize perfect match scenarios and to minimize the others. When it's working, a majority of games become super tight, super stressful, and that's not fun for most players. So where exactly is the variability? Is a tweet made by Max Hoberman in regards to an article defending skill-based matchmaking. Max Hoberman, former multiplayer online and UX design lead for Halo 2 and Halo 3, writes this tweet.
Okay, confused.
I see mention of the skill-based matchmaking component
Thumbnail.
I designed for Halo 2 and 3 on this site every so often. It's usually mentioned reverently. But then an outlier jumps in to claim it can't work today. I disagree. The ignorance here is infuriating. In response to this article, mentioning skill-based matchmaking is an algorithm that groups players of similar skill level together for more balanced matches. When it comes to fairer games, why is there any controversy?
I'm with this all so far.
Well, coming from an actual game developer, when I implemented cleanly divided the space into ranked and unranked matchmaking playlists. Ranked filtered opponents based on level. This was for when you wanted a competitive match. But even then, I intentionally allowed a variability in the range of levels we matched you with. And this is an important point, because without variability, when we match players that are just barely evenly skilled together, it makes matches more stressful. Which he writes, why not always evenly match people though? My reasoning was that these are actually the most stressful matches of the set. Sure, they're
Makes
the
sense.
most fun to watch for spectators. Games come down to the wire. That's because the team that wins is the team that outperforms expectations. And if we're constantly matching people up of similar skill level over and over again, all they're going to be is stressed out all the time. People have to adapt to the environment.
So that's true. So far, all of this is pretty much true. I don't have much of an argument here. It is true that the closer together your skill level is, well, actually, no, it's not true. It's not a blanket statement to say the closer the level your skill is together, the more stressful the match is going to be. Because think of it the other way. What if it's really one-sided? If a killer is going against 4 baby survivors, for that killer, it's a walk in the park. He's not stressing at all. But the survivors are losing their fucking mind thinking they're playing in a tournament because this killer's playing super good even though he's just playing normal. So I don't necessarily think that tracks like exactly. I get what they're saying. Because if you always have matches and you're always going against someone that's trying just as hard to win as you and they're the same level as you, you're always going to be trying like really hard to win. But you got to think about the other side of that equation where if someone's not having to try, it's most likely because the other side is really, really having to try and they're stressed out of their mind. So it's just an interesting other side of the perspective. I'm eating plain rice. I have a intestinal bacterial overgrowth breath test tomorrow and I can't eat anything other than plain boring stuff.
They've been forced to play in. Being stressed out all the time, having to play sweaty. If you check the Dead by Daylight content creator Twitch streams, you'll probably notice that a lot more people are playing sweatier more than ever before.
I don't know why that is, by the way.
The only way to have fun in a matchmaking system where everyone is always stressed out is to play harder, play sweatier.
Why?
Go for win streaks. Tunnel, camp,
Why is that the only reason? That's what I don't understand. You don't get anything for doing that. That's like the main thing I've disagreed with the main community. I don't understand why the community's gotten sweatier over time. There's no good justifiable reason for it. There's no other rewards you can get. Like if there was an invisible MMR or something like that, or even just like a rank, like you got global elite because you are this range of MMR. You don't have to show it directly. If there was something, I would understand it, but there isn't. There's just nothing. You don't get anything other than the individual single match that you just won. I think people just got better at the game. That's exactly the real reason. That's like, I don't know why people are trying to make this more complicated. The game has gotten sweatier and overall harder for everybody because everybody just got better at the game. The game is almost 8 years old now. The reason why it's gotten sweatier is because given enough time, that quote is super accurate, people will optimize the fun out of a game. Nothing to do with how the matchmaking works or anything like that, the changing of win conditions, all that stuff. As the game gets older, people are going to optimize it. That's just how every game in existence works. You can't avoid that. I bet we could have this exact same system in 2016 and there would be no complaints about the actual matchmaking because no one knew what the fuck they're doing. So it's like, as soon as everybody has enough time to learn it all, it's it. Like, you can't reverse that anymore. People already have the knowledge.
Slug, non-stop, which is a paradox when we scroll down.
Not
into
according
the
to my
article,
data.
mentioning that skill-based matchmaking prevents people from queuing into an unrelenting meat grinder, full of sweaty teens hopped up on monster energy and lack of experience in the real world. Facing off against players with a similar level of practice is a good way to ensure...
Oh, I need to comment on this. Kind of weird you can still get better in DBD after 8 years. That's not what I mean. I mean the overall player base has gotten better after 8 years. I'm not talking about a single individual improving over 8 years. Just the average level of the average player is going to be better than it used to be. That's all I'm saying, which is definitely true.
That you're all going to have the most enjoyable possible experience. Skill-based matchmaking is a necessary part of maintaining a healthy player base, and it prevents hardcore players from going on power trips, where they go on a 50-to-1 kill-death ratio in FPS shooters.
Imagine that, guys. Imagine having a 50-to-1 ratio of, like, winning. God, that'd be insane, right? Could never happen in this game.
Skill-based matchmaking prevents all of that. Why, when it comes to Dead by Daylight content creation, all I see these days are win streaks.
Today we're doing the second episode of 50 wins.
50 win streak.
1,000 kill streak.
826 games in a row.
Wait.
And 20
Wins.
50 win streak.
1,000 kill streak. He spliced in 2 different lines of me.
Wins.
50 win streak.
1,000 kill streak. I said 1,000 win streak, and then he somehow changed kill streak from a different clip. That is libel and slander.
826 games in a row.
With each killer.
On Wesker.
As Blight.
With Nuz.
It almost feels like we went from content creation focusing on meme builds, highlighting crazy moments, to only sweating, only doing win streaks, tunneling and camping more often.
I haven't noticed that at all. By far, the most popular videos on YouTube I see are, like, you know, JRM and Skirm just doing dumb shit. Those are by far the most popular videos. Like, there are some, like, you know, sweaty streak ones too. Otz has a couple, but the vast majority of his videos are not that. So I don't really think that's, like, at the forefront or anything like that. People still prefer, like, the silly shit over the sweaty shit, hands down. I mean, the views speak for themselves. Where's my son? Thank you for the 46. I'm okay. We're just watching a pretty interesting video right now.
No matter how many base kit changes we do with an anti-camp feature and nerfs to gen regression, nerfs to gen progression, people have to adapt to their environments. And from a top-down level, from veterans to casual players, these sweaty, stressful matches aren't just exclusively played at the top level, but also the upper mid, and lower levels as well, where the game's identity becomes a sweat fest. And that's the only type of content that can exist.
Wait. Is that the skull merchant guy?
The game's identity becomes
the skull
a
merchant guy.
sweat fest.
That's the chess
And that's
guy.
the only type of content that can exist and thrive. But Coconut, why can't you just make meme content and just do meme builds, make crazy plays? Well, because people become what they consume. When a normal player is put within a sweaty, stressful environment 24/7 every single day, they become the embodiment of that.
That would be true if that actually happened. I do not believe that people are having sweaty matches every game 24/7. That's just simply not happening. The whole point of my tunnel experiment was to prove that's just not happening. And I think it's pretty clear it's just not happening. It could happen more frequently than I encounter, I'll admit that. But saying that it happens every game and you have no break from it ever, that's just not only is that not even true, that's just a straight up lie. That's just aggressively anti-truth. No one is like that. But I do admit that there are some people that encounter it more than I do. So I'm not pretending it doesn't exist. It does. I'm just saying it's not every single game. You do get a break. Happy is not the mercy of random chance. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I could get 50 games in a row with no tunneling. You can get, 20 out of 50 with tunneling, which is 20 times more than me, but still less than half your games and still not every game. You know what I mean? That's just what I'm kind of saying. He means on videos and other media, not directly in the game. Oh, so more about for the videos that are being uploaded about that? Okay, well, that's more selective then. That's fair, if that's what he's talking about.
Anything less of the sweaty, stressful gameplay experience is inferior content. Hence, less meme builds, less fun content,
see, that's
less
not true.
casual content, and
That's just not true. I'm sorry, that is just not true. People, I believe, overall prefer the meme shit over the sweaty shit. I mean, just look at all the most popular YouTubers for this game. Most of their stuff is either memes or Otts is mostly informational stuff. Very few of it is streaks and stuff like that, but I'm not saying people don't like watching it. They do. I'm just saying people prefer watching this stuff. So I don't think that's a good justification for really anything. Watching it, not playing like that, that's fine, but that's what we're talking about right now. We're talking about watching it, so it's what portrayed versus it's what's portrayed to new people versus what the fan base already does. Sure, but I'm just saying it's more people prefer consuming the content that is silly and memey and compilations and stuff like that over here. Look at this 40-hour video of me winning 2,000 times with Blight. You know what I mean?
more hardcore content, competitive content. Oh, maybe our community wants competitive play. No, you're creating the environment of which, where that is the only type of community that you can manifest. But let's go on.
Hold on.
No, you're creating more content, competitive content. Oh, maybe our community wants competitive play. No, you're creating the environment of which, where that is the...
Didn't they do this for like a month and just never do it again? I'm pretty sure the devs don't actually give a shit about this at all. Because I remember they announced that like years ago. They did it like 3 times and then I haven't heard from it since. So to be fair, to his credit, Behavior does send some pretty mixed messages when it comes to whether or not they want the game to be competitive or not. I would say like it's like 80-20 in favor of it not being competitive, but then every once in a while they do shit like this and you're like, well, what do you actually want? So it's jasmine rice. It is long grain rice. It's the only rice I can eat plain.
only type of community that you can manifest. But let's go on. What I implemented cleanly divide the space into ranked and unranked matchmaking playlists. Ranked filters opponents based on level. This was for when you wanted a competitive match, but even then, I intentionally allowed variability in the range of levels we matched you with. This variability was a topic of hot debate internally. During development...
Oh, that's interesting. So, like their actual original MMR system. So it's almost like what we have in DBD, where even though it matches you, it's still allowed variability. But isn't that what we already have right now, though? I feel like that's how DBD currently is. Because of how slow the soft cap is, we already have this level of variability that he's talking about. But let me go further.
20 years ago. Obviously, no one wants to be stomped continuously. On the flip side, it gets dull for most people, continuously stomping others.
Mm-hmm.
However, it is fun to have the upper hand some of the time.
Sure.
By intentionally allowing a range of skills to match together, we provided 3 experiences in ranked matchmaking. An easier one, where you can kick butt, a harder one, where you're likely outmatched, and an evenly matched
This
one.
just sounds like DBD.
My theory was that a good mix of these 3 was ideal.
Sounds
We're
good to
currently
me.
living in a universe where every match is a harder one, where you're likely outmatched, or an evenly matched one. When players constantly play a stressful match after...
Doesn't that make no sense? How does that make any sense? How can you possibly have all of them only be harder or even? If one of them is harder, that means for the other side it's easier. That makes no sense.
another stressful match, another stressful match, another stressful match, where's the catharsis? There's a constant build of pressure over and over and over again, to the point where people feel like they need to take a break playing Dead by Daylight. And that brings me to the point...
That has
where
nothing to do
people
with
say-
matchmaking. That's just because we have fucking 10,000 hours in the game. We're bored of it. I don't think it has anything to do with the balance. Anyone saying that they're quitting because of the MMR and stuff like that is mostly full of it. They're just bored of the game, which rightfully so. Even putting an ungodly amount of hours into it, you need to chill. But it doesn't really have anything to do with the MMR, I don't think. At least for the content creators leaving. Dowsy didn't quit because of MMR? No, most of them don't quit because of the MMR. They quit because they're either bored or fed up with the devs for some other reason. Like, I can't think of a single content creator that stopped playing DBD because they were fed up with the matchmaking system. I've never heard of that happening ever. Maybe I have missed somebody or something like that, but I've legit never heard of that happening.
It's healthy to take a step back from playing the game, which is true, and that's probably why the people on my friends list that are playing Dead by Daylight have shrunk drastically, as people are playing other games that allow them to feel that sense of relief. But when it comes to our game stressing people out, why aren't we designing a system that also provides that sense of relief?
Wait. Just a little side thing. Hold on. You can't talk about people quitting DBD, use a thumbnail of Dowsy, which is like almost 2 years ago now, and then have another thumbnail of just also Dowsy here again. You can't reuse the same thing.
Provides that sense of relief.
I'm just
If the
being a
only
troll.
emotion that players feel is sweat and stress, you can imagine how they feel within a month time period, year time period. They'll eventually quit your game, which is also the reason why a lot of content creators are quitting the game. There is a lack of heartbeat, where there's usually an up, a down, a midpoint, an essence of variability, where the essence of
What?
Mother Nature is a mimicry of real life.
That was, holy shit, that was insanely deep. Dude, why do I not see this? Like, seriously, this whole thing about there not being any variability in your matches. Am I the only person that has an absolute psychotic range of variability? My games are literally like, I go against like a 4-man comp team, and then I'm going against Baby Megs the next game. My skill graph is like fucking, it's like the spaghetti code of the game. This entire game, at least for me, this is just me personally, my variability is all over the place. Absolutely all over the place. So I think we already have this, and I'm not sure why he's claiming that he's not having this. Maybe he is. I don't know. Like I'm saying, I don't like watch every game that he plays. So maybe for some reason he is. I'm just saying, me personally, I see variability like drastically. You find it's generally a stomp up from either side. I mean, that's sort of the nature how asymmetrical games work in general. I think even a well-balanced asymmetrical game is still going to be like that, because as soon as one guy's dead, it's like it just snowballs. Seen a bit more of a variability. Games are different every game. Yeah, that's usually how mine is. Is this is Coconut RTS. I never lose. Okay. 90% of games are solo queue babies. People act like they go against SEAL Team 6 every match. That's a large portion of it. It's their perception of what they're going against. But I'm just saying, my variability is all over the place. Seriously, go look at any VOD I have. You will see extremely good teams I have to bust my ass against, and then I have baby bills running into me in 5 gens and just dying like the next game. So, I don't know. I definitely don't agree with this point that it needs some variability, because I think it already has so much variability. And thank God it does, by the way, because he's right. If it was always just, redlining it every game, yeah, that would suck. But that's fortunately not the case. That's not actually how it works.
And when our game lacks that relief, that catharsis, that release of stress that we're constantly feeling all the
That is so many jizzing puns. I have to comment on it.
time, we end up pushing people away from our game and killing our core player base, which is exactly what's happening right now. I don't think it's too late, but
No, it's not. What are you talking about? Steam charts. I haven't checked Steam charts in a while for Dead by Daylight. It's literally fine. Last month we have 42 2K players. The last time we had that was June 2022. There's a lot of people playing the game, man. It's not even close to its worst state. It's actually near one of its better states. So I don't know. That's just straight up not true at all. People are not leaving I mean, individually some people may be leaving the game, but it's not like it's not an issue. It's not a widespread thing that's making people as a community stop playing DBD. You might be talking about individual content creators, but the game is doing mostly better than it has in most other time periods. So definitely not true at all.
something obviously needs to be done about this. content creators or legions of devoted fans just regurgitate the same views. Their argument is that there's something inherently unfair about grouping skilled players in matches with other skilled players, but that's quite clearly ridiculous. It's like supporting a football team, where one team is getting pummeled.
He's not talking about overall players, he's talking about hardcore players. Yeah, isn't that like a self-fulfilling prophecy, though? Won't the hardcore players burn themselves out because they're playing like it's a tournament every single game? If you're talking about the other 98% of the player base, I mean, that doesn't seem like it's a problem then. I don't know.
And clearly outmatched.
Hey, basketball.
This kind of sounds similar to a certain game developer that compared Dead by Daylight to hockey.
Skilled play inherently leads
Oh,
to kills
classic.
or escapes. Think about sports, and I'll use hockey as an example
Classic,
because I'm
classic.
Canadian. You wouldn't say the only count wins when placing teams in the standings, but they should also count shots on goal too. A more skilled player takes more shots.
We forget to mention that sports
True.
are competitive events that people watch to see the best of the best face off for a prize pool of money. Now, when we take that sentiment to comparing video games to sports and stretch it over an entire video game, it gets to the point where every match
God, this
feels
video
like
is so
people
sexual.
are playing like their life is on the line. Like there's $20,000 at stake. It's often an argument point that I see people complaining about how every match feels like a competitive tournament where everyone's sweating over and over again. And it feels like that way for a reason. Due to the lack of foresight for a player having fun and the name of game-wide fairness. But fairness does not necessarily mean fun.
That is
The
true.
system I designed for
That's very
ranked
true.
playlists ensure a healthy mix. Sure, it sucks watching your favorite team.
Just like as a blanket statement, just because something is very well balanced doesn't mean the game is fun at all. That is very, very true, and I definitely agree with that statement. Like, balance and fun are not necessarily related. Typically, if a game is more balanced, it'll probably be more fun for more people overall. But those like fringe scenarios where you feel super overpowered and shit, people love that. And so if the game is just all gray, neutral, everything is the exact same power level, it is actually more boring. So I do agree with that for sure.
get their butt kicked in, but it comes full circle when they're the ones kicking butt. Throw in tight, evenly matched games every so often, and that's a ton of fun. Like the heartbeat analogy I once mentioned, a constant rhythm with ups, downs, mids, and lows is fun because of the essence of variability to have stressful games sometimes with a little relief. I haven't even gotten to unranked.
That's how the game
playlists
works,
yet.
though, man.
I designed these to not factor in skill/level in the search of opponents. Yes, our engineers utilized the same codebase and kept skill/level as a search criteria, but we substantially
Thanks, Scratchy.
deprioritized it in matchmaking, which Choi also mentioned as to one of the reasons why the lights out modifier didn't feel fun, because behavior enabled skill-based matchmaking for it, when in comparison to the My Little Oni, it was predominantly more fun. Even though
What does that have to do with matchmaking? It was not fun because it was just DBD, but it's dark. This mode was fun because it was fucking giant Oni and you're a little wee, like a little, little tiny Meg. It's more fun because the mode was more fun. And it has nothing to do with balancing. In fact, the game modes were so wildly unbalanced that the matchmaking didn't even fucking matter at that point. This mode was more fun because it was silly as shit. It was actually like a very stupid April Fool's game mode. Lights out, it's just DBD but darker. So
it was way easier to die. You could imagine My Little Oni as a game mode where people are just popping all the genders instantaneously and escaping, making less people want to queue for killer.
people were
Or
escaping
the
that
Oni
mode?
constantly slugging for the 4K in a casual, fun game mode.
This is not from My Little Oni. There would only be 3 generators. Fake news again. Got him.
Just because he wants to get 4 kills every match. It would have greatly reduced the enjoyment in the modifier. We also didn't track skill/level globally, only per playlist. The net result was that unranked matchmaking allowed a very wide range of skill levels to match together for what everyone agreed was casual, inconsequential fun. Again, that's the way it should be, in my opinion. Since the natural skill level distribution of players follows a bell curve, there are outliers, inherently low skill and high skill players. Characterizing the high skill ones as sweaty teens hopped up on Monster Energy is really disrespectful.
That's true. There is a difference between high skill and sweaty in DBD. A high skill player is one that's going to use like macro gameplay and their knowledge and their actual micro skill to end chases fast and be able to win, not having to play sweaty. A sweaty player is just someone that brings the best shit in all the time. Now, sweaty players can also be good, but they're not necessarily related. You can have a good non-sweaty player, but you can't really have like if someone's sweaty, they're not necessarily good. It's just more about the things you bring into the match there. You can have a shitty old Blight with like an old Compound 33 be terrible at the game and still slap everybody because it was just so brokenly strong, you know? Hey, Dragon Egg, thank you for the 29 months. High skill curve is Billy, sweaty as Nurse, and Blight. But the Billy can also play sweaty too. I'm just saying you don't have to connect those things, by the way. That's all I'm saying.
And to be honest, this article is probably made by someone who's just projecting their insecurities and has likely never been at the high skill level to the point where if this journalist was a game developer, they would likely infantilize a video game in the name of righteously making the game more fun for casual people, while tone-deafly making the game worse for everyone. Segregating high-skill players from the population at large, forcing long wait times on them is a form of discrimination.
True.
Designers should strive to find a way that players of all skill levels can have fun together. Casual, inconsequential, unranked matchmaking is one way. I dabbled with handicap settings and asymmetric.
Designers should try for a way that players of all skill levels can have fun together. Casual, inconsequential, unranked matchmaking is one way. Yeah, isn't that what DBD is, though? Do you guys consider DBD to be ranked or unranked? In terms of matchmaking? Like, what do you actually describe it as? Because to me, I think it's unranked. I know that's a weird take, but you physically cannot see your rank. You have no idea what your rank is. It might not even exist. You have no idea. So I consider it unranked. But that's why when people say, like, let's add a ranked mode and an unranked mode, it's like the current game mode already is a ranked and unranked mode. The only way a ranked mode in this game the only way that would exist is if you could see your rank. If you could see your MMR and then they added a see your MMR mode, I think that would be fair. That would actually make more sense. That would be a legitimately ranked mode. But if you have a ranked mode and you can't even see your rank, that's not a ranked mode in my opinion. That's just nothing. That's just a casual whatever game. Is this an argument for no matchmaking at all? No, God no. I'm not saying there shouldn't be no matchmaking. That'd be terrible. You ever gone against like true baby players? It's yeah, that would not be fair at all. Sorry for all the subs and stuff. I'm not responding to that right now while I'm recording this. I will get to it when I'm done. In Dota, people at the top of MR have a much longer queue time, but they usually prefer that from whatever streamers who watch matches where one team dominates. Yes, I've noticed that in the StarCraft as well. Like I watch some StarCraft 2 pros occasionally, and they're often in queue for several minutes before they get an actual match that is an appropriately nearby MMR, and then even then, it's still there might be 1,000 points off or something like that. So yeah, I mean, I agree with that. It would be more fair if the matchmaking was more accurate, but it would also suck ass because at the core, this is actually a really interesting thing. Like how you just said, the Dota pros, they don't mind having longer queues because it's going to lead to a match in which they can actually test their skill, and it's not going to be a pointless stomp, indicating that they're competitive players that want to have a really balanced match, and they don't want to take the game casually. On the flip side, Dead by Daylight players do not want that, which means predominantly people view it as a casual game. I feel like that tracks, right? Because it's the complete opposite of the scenario you just said. Most people do not want to have that. They just want a regular casual match. So they don't want that long matchmaking to get an insanely well-matched game. They want short matchmaking and just roll the dice, see what we got. Because most people play this game casually. DBD will never be balanced due to maps and whatever bullshit gets brought. Oh no, of course not. I'm not saying it ever will be. I'm just talking about appropriate skill levels being matched, which again, even with their current MMR system, doesn't even acknowledge it the right way, because acknowledging killer skill is one thing, just simply by getting kills, that's fine, but acknowledging survivor skill simply by escapes will always make it so they can never accurately depict survivor skill, and if half the matchmaking is broken based on one of the sides, then the other half won't work either. So simple as that.
Game mode design as others. Game devs shouldn't take the easy way out and default to segregation, though. There's far more that can be done. Derogatory views like this among game developers is a cop-out and a disservice
what can you
to
do?
Players. Hens mentioned a player who dug
what can
into
you do?
the game's code. That Dead by Daylight has individual skill brackets. As you win more matches, you get to a higher skill bracket.
It starts at 650? Oh,
After
shit.
ranking into this bracket, there's also a loss prevention system in place that prevents the player from immediately dropping back out, even if they lose multiple matches in a row.
The more games you play, the better you get, the more you get locked into the highest skill bracket. This type of segregation is being utilized by the Dead by Daylight game developers in the name of making the game more casual and fair. But why is our community playing competitive even though we designed the system to be more fun for casual players? What that must mean is that people want the game to be competitive.
No,
which is likely the reason why behavior has started doing.
That's not true at all. That is not true at all. It's because they just prefer winning over losing. That's about it. It has nothing to do with them wanting to take it like a super sweaty competitive tournament thing. I am 100% sure the vast majority of the community does not want that. They don't want it to be a sweaty tournament game. They do not want that. There are some people that do, but they are just a tiny little dot. That is absolutely... I don't have evidence. I haven't polled the community, and I can't poll you guys because you likely align with my beliefs. But I'm 100% sure if you poll the entire DBD community, do you view the game like, tournament level, like sweaty, or just more of a casual time? I would say 97% are going to say the bottom one. There's going to be about 3%, 5% of people that are like, no, I want this game to be a tournament. I want it to be super sweaty and all that stuff. You'd like a rank for your efforts? See, that's the thing. Even if they had a visible rank, I would change my opinion. If they had a visual MMR, I would actually probably play a lot sweatier and try to win because it's an attainable goal. There's actually a reason for me to do it. The only thing I get out of that now is just making other people miserable. That's the only thing I get out of playing super sweaty in regular matches. But if I had a reward for it, at least it would be justified in doing so. But there isn't. And as long as there isn't, the community is going to say, well, there's no point. So fuck it. I want to play casually. As soon as you add a reward, then the poll will look very different. I could see it going more to like 75-25 if you actually have a visible reward. That would make a lot more sense. He's saying how the devs might be thinking about it. Okay. Well, it still doesn't make any sense, but okay, that's what he's saying. That's fine.
Which is likely the reason why behavior has started doing sponsored tournaments and events.
They didn't, though. They did it for like 3 weeks and never did it again. If they really wanted to track with the competitive mindset, this would still be going on. They'd be endorsing all this shit, but they literally stopped this like 3 weeks after they started. You can't say they're starting to do it when it hasn't been a thing for years. That's not fair.
Because they only see the symptoms of their decision making, not the root problem and cause as to why people feel this way. Eventually, over time, though, casual players may become filtered out due to the game being too stressful, and we'd only be stuck with a competitive, sweaty, try-hard player base homogeneously. And if that's the case, if we've reached a point of no return, behavior at that point might as well just make a 5v5, where there's a team of 1 killer, 4 survivors.
I mean, that'd be sweet, though.
Of 1 killer, 4 survivors. Have map bans, have perk bans, have killer bans, and fully commit to...
Look, I'm all for this shit, by the way. Not maybe for, like, the regular game mode, but for custom matches, I am all for this shit. Do map bans, stuff like that, perk bans, specific map seeding. That'd be fucking cool. I would love that for custom matches. That would be, like, actually awesome. I think the competitive, like, people would be head over heels for that. That'd be amazing. I don't know why this is being framed as, like, a bad thing. That'd be fucking cool. Dude, imagine being able to, like, play Huntress and you can, like, ban, like, Larry's or Hawkins or something. That'd be so nice. Fuck, I would love bans. Fuck, put this in the regular game mode. Map bans would be amazing. I would say this is more like competitive, like custom matches, but a regular map ban system? Dude, please add that to the regular base game. That would be amazing. God, I would love that.
Making Dead by Daylight a competitive game. It's entirely risky, could backfire completely. That's why I believe behavior should probably...
Start us up again. I would argue allowing map bans would make the game less sweaty. Because now you couldn't have a nurse put you on Midwich because someone in your team banned Midwich or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, there's plenty of maps in the game where you can have 4 map bans and still get a bunch of random shit. So that would actually make it so people couldn't do the super sweatiest things they possibly could. You know what I mean?
Just bring back the emblem-based or rank-based matchmaking, as that worked previously. People liked it, and players just kind of want some good old-fashioned casual fun.
Yeah, I agree with that. Bring back the emblem system. This system right here was, it was on the right track. Emblem sucked. See, I don't agree. Well, I mean, they sucked, but they sucked less than MMR. Or not MMR, the win condition that they currently have. The concept of MMR is fine. It's all just about what the MMR is based off of. This could be MMR. These emblems could determine your MMR. So I think we need to move away from blaming MMR and more the actual win condition of the match being based on kills and escapes, because that's the stupid part. But this stuff was the start of something good. This was like the beginning of a system that was actually going to be accounting for how much you healed, how long you got chased, how quickly you down someone as killer, how many total hooks you got, how long your chases were, your power usage, all that stuff. It accounted for a lot of the stuff. They just weren't refined enough. They were there were like certain outliers where certain killers couldn't get certain emblems. That's why, I don't know if you guys remember, this is ancient Scotch-Gun lore. I made a giant list of modifiers for every killer to the emblem scores. Like, for example, Nurse's chase emblem would have a much higher multiplier because Nurse barely chases people. So in order for her to be considered a loss, she would have to get effectively more chase points than the average killer. Whereas Wraith would get probably less than normal because Wraith can only kind of like, well, no, not Wraith, because Wraith can actually get free hits. Who's a killer that has to just chase like normally? I don't know. Freddy or something like that. They would have like a different multiplier because they would get way more chase emblem points because all they can do is chase. So stuff like that. Having custom modifiers for the killer to account for all that stuff, I think, was the correct way to do it. And it was just a modification of this already existing system. They just needed to pat it on the back a bit for it to be better. But instead, they abandoned it and gave us something way worse.
Players just kind of want some good old-fashioned casual fun. So this was a Halo game developer's critique on the failure of modern-day skill-based matchmaking. I have to thank Choi for finding this and pointing this out. I'll leave a link to his channel and the video he uses to cover this exact same topic and behavior. Please. We've been tackling this problem from all angles: psychological, scientific, and now even coming from the mouth of another game developer himself. Skill-based matchmaking probably needs to go. But maybe you guys have a better solution.
Well, wasn't this guy arguing that skill-based matchmaking for him was good? Like the way he designed it to have variability and stuff? Maybe I'm misunderstanding what Max was saying. Wasn't he saying that the way they did skill-based matchmaking was kind of good for like Halo? I think he's talking about Halo. Like he said that was good, right? Like because he accounted for variability and all that stuff. Is that what he was saying? It's the how it was done. Why did he make this post then? I wish I could see the rest of this tweet. Well, why did he actually make this post? He said devs do their matchmaking too tightly. Right, that's sort of what I'm getting at. So that kind of, it's weird. Like Coconut's almost saying like the way that Max was talking about it is kind of a good way to do it, where there's like, there's a heartbeat, there's a variability and all that stuff. But in my opinion, that's literally how it works. That's the only reason it does work, because it barely works. You know what I mean? If we actually had a super accurate matchmaking system in this game, it would be fucking terrible. Every content creator would be miserable, burned out. We would be having to sweat every single game, waiting 5 minutes a queue. It'd be horrible. It would be so bad. But luckily, it doesn't work like that. If you go to any streamer, I guarantee you're going to see skill doing this every game. There's going to be some crazy shit happening every single game. Some games are filled with complete idiots. Some games are filled with really good players and everything in between. So it's almost like he's arguing for them to do this in DBD, but they already do this. This is how the game actually works. So yeah, I don't know. I don't agree that the concept of skill-based matchmaking is bad. The way it's implemented in DBD is weird because of the win condition, and that's a fair criticism. But the concept of skill-based matchmaking is not bad, and also this is how it literally works in the game to begin with. Again, at least for me, I can't verify every experience you guys have. My whole theory based on the last experiment I did was that people that think they're going against the sweatiest things ever in the world are really just not. They're just massively overestimating it. I wish I could test out on Killer to see how many sweaty formats I get, but I can't check every game because if they're consoles, I can't see if they're in a group. So I would love to have the other side of that experiment, but that'd be purely just guessing. So yeah, I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with all that, but still interesting though. I like hearing different takes about the whole MMR system in general. But this is a YouTube video. It was a YouTube video, and this is where I'd hit stop record. I should have done that at font.